Hey, what is going on, YouTube fans? It is us, the crowdfunding crew. Billy Tucci, my friend, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing just fine. Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear
Hang
you, my
on.
friend.
I am doing pretty terrific. I'm a little sad though today. I really am. I gotta be honest with you.
Why are you
Very,
sad,
very,
my friend?
very distressing few. I guess past 24 hours, if you will, or maybe not quite, but
Mm,
close to it. But enough about me. Don't we have a guest to come on with us
we
today?
do. Guys, we have a good friend of ours, good friend of the show, a longtime friend of Billy, and he's, become a good friend of mine. Everyone like to introduce Mr. JCV, Jeffrey Vaughn. How we doing tonight, my friend?
Excellent, guys. How are you?
We're doing good. We're
Oh,
doing good.
oh, old bean. Hang on. I'm on my 5G extension. I'm going to switch to 5G, so I might freeze up. Hang on.
Glad to see we've got the technical stuff out of the way.
Hey, it's all good on this end, brother. It's that Mr. Tucci character. And
What's
he's
up?
back.
And I'm back.
It's like Billy Headroom.
Oh, the power of technology. Science!
That's right.
How is everybody doing out there? Sorry, I just scarfed down 3 Dorito tacos from Taco Bell.
And it was disturbing to watch.
Yeah, and I was on camera doing it, and they were just like, "This is the most disturbing thing I've ever seen." And I'm just like shoving them down into my my big old
Big old
trap ear.
ears. I think I saw more saliva.
Can I since there's enough bad news to go around, let's say some good news here first. And this is not crowdfunding. This is I'm lucky enough to have a freaking phenomenal day job. I'm vice president of publishing for the Overstreet Comic Book Price Guide. And the big Overstreet Comic Book Price Guide this year is 25th anniversary of She by Mr. Billy Tucci.
Yes.
And colored by Wes Hartman. And it has sold right now what we normally sell in a year through Diamond. Normally we sell only through Diamond and through Gemstone on that one. And so it's going to be a very popular book, and it's going to be much in demand. And I think a couple months from now, when the thing comes out, people are going to be disappointed that they didn't order it.
Well, thank you. Someone said there is an echo. Is the echo gone?
The echo is fixed. I forgot to shut Jeff's Skype audio off, so
Can I take
I had
these?
2 audios running, and so it was picking up you and Jeff. My bad.
Yes, Eric Hawkins, let's go Blues. Sorry, we're having fun here.
Your chewing distracted me on those tacos. I was getting everything set. So what an exciting day today, huh, there, fellas?
Yes, well, the Overstreet Price Guide, the big. How many pages is that, Jeff? If we
the big is because it's oversized. It takes less pages than the 1,280 pages that the regular edition is. This is 880.
880
Wow.
pages. So literally, if someone drops it from the second floor and hits you on the head, it could kill you.
It most likely would.
And would someone be wearing a straw hat from the Susquehanna Hat Company?
There is every possibility of that.
Every possibility. And most likely, do you think you have a better chance of getting hit in the head with a safe or a piano, dropped from the second floor by delivery men, wearing a hat from the Susquehanna Hat Company, or not?
I don't think it increases or decreases your odds. I think if you're in the Hudsucker proxy, your chances of getting hit are greater.
Oh, well, how do you have with that? Well, thank you, Jeff. It's a great honor. It's our 25th anniversary of She. Thank you to you. Thank you to Bob Overstreet. Thank you to Josh Jeppy, Steve Jeppy, and everyone at Diamond Comic Distributors and Gemstone. It's a real great honor. It really.
Well,
And don't forget, let the people know, they're curious out there in chat. Where are they going to be able to buy the 25th anniversary edition of She?
It sells out, right? It sells out.
Sells out quick.
This 25th anniversary cover of She will be available in comic shops and from the Gemstone website. This version is not available in bookstores. It's something we do just for the direct market.
So please check it out.
And I would say that if you're going to be at San Diego Comic Con, Mr. Tucci will have some at his booth.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We'll also, on our Scoop email newsletter, we'll be putting out a list of everybody else who's carrying it, the retailers that are carrying it at the show. But I know right now, just from our conversation this morning, that Billy will have it at his booth.
Yes,
Oh,
and
awesome.
thank you, Old Bean, for that. And last time it happened, if anyone has a tick version out there. Oh, your phone?
Yep.
I shut my phone off too then. Okay.
Hey, old Billy F. and Tucci.
Billy F. and Tucci. That's
Billy F. and Tucci. That's what you're referred to as now.
Well, I was a little pissed off last night, I got to tell you. But, I don't think I was pissed off. I was pissed off at some people, but I think I was more sad than anything. I really was. I was feeling a bit melancholy, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah.
Not as sad as I am right now that my head is gigantic and I'm getting closer and closer to the little box. There you go. I think that's people don't want to see my ugly mug. But I was up till 2:00 in the morning having discussions with a few people, and it just got really weird. And people kept asking me questions. I had an exchange with this one chap, and for those of you who don't know, we had Niall, do you want to explain it?
Yeah, we had our first, I would say, Twitter storm of just people not too happy with our selections of guests. And as most of you are aware, I mean, we are Crowdfunding Comics. I am Niall Scala. That's Billy Tucci. I mean, we are Crowdfunding Comics, and that's what we are. We're not affiliated.
A vast consortium?
What's that?
You're not a vast consortium of creative types and business exploiters and all that kind of stuff. It's just the two of you?
It's just the two of us. That's it.
No, and Frank Amazing.
Yeah, we have Frank Amazing, the chat master, who monitors the chat.
Frank Amazing, the chat
Frank
master?
Amazing's monitoring the chat from home. He's in. He's been chatting and responding. Actually, both of us kind of have.
So
Frank Amazing is here remotely.
Frank Amazing. So even on his day off, Frank Amazing
is still amazing.
Working.
Yeah. So anywho, we're Crowdfunding Comics. I mean, we're here for the fans. We're here for the creators. We're here for everyone. No discrimination. Not affiliated with anybody. We just respect the art, the creators, who they are, what they're doing. We want to get to know them. We want the world to get to know them, because now is the time, my friends. Now is the time for self-publishing, crowdfunding. Yep. It's a new medium. We all know where the industry is at, and you know what? There's guys like Billy and even Jeff here. I mean, they've been in the industry a long time, and they have seen the ups and downs, which way to go, what's right, what's wrong, what's true, what's not. And, I mean, it's an incredible thing that we're doing, and we're happy we have a bunch of fans.
Yeah, and thank you guys for that, and thank you that we have 1,400 subscribers. You guys are wonderful. And then Ethan was saying that something about us being monetized, but we're not monetized, right?
No, some guys are asking us that because they, we're our last eligibility will be hours watched. And thanks to all these amazing new subscribers we have. You guys are awesome. You are a crowdfunding crew. We have, I think I might have like 1,400 hours of viewing left till we can monetize. We can start doing super chats. We can start getting, people more exposure in our chat, while we're doing things. And, it's all because of you guys, and embracing the show, embracing what we're doing, our mission. Billy's a 25-year, comic career, still going strong, only getting better. He's got some amazing books coming out. I got Jeff here too. I mean, amazing stuff is coming out from these guys. So, I mean, they're helping, let's say lead a charge in a way and an influence, and the point of this is, they want to see everyone have great success just like they have, along with the hard work that's involved.
Don't you think that the most killer thing about comics, and Billy and I have been having this discussion for almost the whole time we've known each other, that don't you think the best thing about comics is how freaking egalitarian it is? And meaning, if you get the book together, whether you're the writer or the editor or the publisher, and you put a team together, or if you're talented like a writer artist like Billy and can do a big chunk of it yourself, don't you think that that's the most amazing thing about us, that if you do this and you put out a good book and you're sitting next to Paul Levitz or Jim Shooter at a show, they're not going to look down their nose at you. Our top guys are going to look at you like you're a fellow creator. And if you go out and you make a successful indie film, are you hanging out with Spielberg?
No.
Maybe, but likelihood? Nah.
Or if you self-publish a novel, will you ever get to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's all sorts of venues, and I don't want to criticize any of them because I'm a novelist, I'm a screenwriter, I do all these things, right? And I don't have but comics, man,
There is a camaraderie there.
And it's so egalitarian.
Yes.
We can just, I mean, you look at the number of people who are running Kickstarters at the same time who support each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Justin Gray's done that with me a bunch, like where he's had one going, I've had one going, and we're both pushing each other's Kickstarters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even all of us share, you know what I mean? Like with Brian Pulido, I will be hosting Brian Pulido's 25th anniversary Lady Death cover, and he'll be talking about the resurrection of Lady Death through Coffin Comics, his company, which I think is an amazing name. I prefer that name to Chaos Comics. Actually,
I do too. Yeah, I dig the Coffins comics.
Logo. It's all him, but he tells the story of how Chaos Comics came. Mm-hmm. And Brian Pulido, for those of you that know him, is nothing but chaotic. He is everything is to the T. Even like we're not announcing it yet, but we have a very special project for the San Diego Comic-Con this year. It's both she and Lady Death's 25th anniversary, and I'm doing the artwork for this. And I'm not going to say covers, but you know, it could be. Anyway, but I have to have that artwork done by the 3rd of June. Once that is done by the 3rd of June, then it has to be colored, I think, by the 7th or so. And Brian's like, we missed this deadline, then we can't do it. And because he is so, in tune, so like...
Yeah, you call that chaos. I call that freaking hyper-organized, man.
Well, yeah, that's what he's anything but chaos. But he does put like a lid on it, like a coffin. Like he shuts down... He puts a lid on everything he has to do, and he contains it inside of that.
I think you're reaching for this analogy. What do you think, Niall?
Yeah, I think so. The man...
And a coffin explodes, and out comes baby death. Anyway, sorry, act like an idiot.
I mean, Brian, though, is like super hyper-focused. I mean, the guy, when he was giving us the tour of his studio, was like an Energizer bunny. But all that energy is the love of his universe he created. Yeah, I mean, it's
and they listen. They're all
contagious.
They're all about their service of their customer, and it really is. He treats it like it's a movement, and he gets rewarded like it's a movement by the people that are in it, and I think that we've seen that, and we've seen a number of people who aren't particularly fans of Lady Death say that. Brian's the guy.
Yeah.
And the great thing about the show is you guys have run it so far is that you've been pretty much open to anybody with a good story to tell. And I'm not just talking about their comics. I'm talking about how they got the Kickstarter. My favorite thing that you guys cover is when you talk about the mistakes you've made. That's the thing that I learned the most from. What's the best advice you got? All these things that you guys do in all these episodes. It's a phenomenal education, but one of the things that we haven't really had to deal with a whole lot, thank freaking goodness, is a lot of the political bullshit. Excuse me, that's in that's in the rest of the world.
Yes,
this is Niall. You used the phrase camaraderie, and that's like one of the things that's so appealing to me about comics. How many times have we been in a situation, any of us or all of us, where it's sort of like, I know, we'll put on a show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, really, the Vampire PA trade paperback succeeded because you, Niall, planted the Kickstarter links out there in all the horror groups. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, you just gotta throw it everywhere.
and Billy coming out with Zombie Sama. It was great to be able to go to my zombie audience on Zombie Proof and say, hey, remember Billy did a cover for us and it was great. Check this out. You're going to love it. And I know a bunch of those guys supported it.
Yeah. Yep. And and what I've learned, especially from you guys, and then now being able to meet a lot of other creators, well-known creators, is in the real world of the industry and the creators. I mean, a lot of stuff you hear, if you don't know certain things, it's not true. I mean, there's so much love for one another. I mean, like, you guys see each other and it's just like, it's just crazy. It's just, you can tell there is a connection in this industry, a connection that, there really is not that much toxicity from what I have been exposed to. It's been like a brotherhood, a sisterhood. I mean, it's incredible. It truly is. And for all those creators out there that are starting out in the, do I want to get into comics? Yes, get into comics. Do it. Work hard. This is a community, a brotherhood, a sisterhood, a family. Don't listen to what's going on out there. Don't listen to it. It's not true.
And that's what pisses me off. And you guys both, we Jeff, you and I and Gary Cohn had breakfast this morning, and Niall, you and I spoke earlier as well. And this is what was so distressing about what happened yesterday was, we do this part-time. This is our thing. We all have jobs. One guy was tweeting me things, and then I answered him. He's like, you have to learn how to tweet because you don't wait a half hour between responses. And I'm like, well, yeah, I do because I have work to do. I'm not sitting there, like this particular person might have been waiting. You know what I mean? I could just see him going crazy. But I was getting flashbacks of when, when we had a knock on the door a few months ago, and there was two very handsome, young, tough-looking gents,
from the FBI. Yeah, way to bury the lead there, Billy.
Yeah, flashing business cards and badges from the Federal Bureau of Investigation that there was a credible death threat upon myself and my wife.
Yeah.
And it was so strange because I kept seeing, I was on one page and someone said something about us and I think called us racist or something. So I engaged with that person, and then it was almost as if I fell down a rabbit hole of lunacy.
Yeah, let me ask you a question in all seriousness.
Yeah.
What pushes you when you see this craziness to actually engage?
I don't know.
Now, listen. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that critically. I'm legitimately asking because you just used the right phrase. You said rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And you obviously have to feel like there's something to be gained. Yeah. And knowing you, I'd like to speculate and have you correct me if I'm wrong. And that's this. What? Do you think that if they get to know you, they'll understand that you're not like that?
I think so. Yeah,
I think so.
I think if they would give people a chance, and that is one of the things. And me, I was harping about the arena of civility. I've always been like that.
Yes, you have.
Blessed are peacemakers. From the Beatitudes, and that's what I like. I like peacemakers. Peacemakers. They stand their ground. You know what I mean? That's why I love Captain America. I love the shield. You know what I mean? And I just always been drawn to that, even when I was in the service and everything like that. And and you just want to engage, like, well, this is kind of distressing. And we've been hearing it, and especially Niall, you and I, because we were like, wow, we got hit with a freight train. So we started doing research today, and I took some time off from work to research a bunch of these crazies and stuff like that, and all the things. And this person's attacking me, and that person's and did you see this person attack me? And then I'm getting something from the other side. Well, look what this person did, and sent the police. I sent the SWAT team to someone's house and almost killed their dog. You know what I mean? And it's like you could see it coming from both sides. And that's why I find what's so disturbing is that we are on the cusp of a golden age of self-publishing creativity, that anyone can do this. This is the American dream. This is the comic book dream, that now anyone out there, if you want to make a comic book, you can. And you can sell that comic book, and you could make a living doing it. And it's all stuff that people are putting their hearts, their souls into it. Some are big, some are small, but still, someone asks for $1,500, someone asks for $500 to get it published. They go directly to the consumer, and the consumers respond with a leap of faith for that consumer. And then you have people coming in, and this is why Niall and you and I were talking. Like, is the comics industry moving towards a new comics code authority era? And if so, who are the authoritarians? Who are the ones that determine
the folks that you're sorry to interrupt here, but you've posed this question, and man, it's a scary frontier. Niall, sorry I interrupted you there. Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't saying anything. I was listening.
No, get Jeff.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Well, here's what I was that I'm thinking about this. We have entered into a field where there is ostensibly more money to be made being a creator for established properties. Yeah. We have, Billy and I have both done this. We've written characters that we do not own. There is I mean, you give me a shot at Captain America, right? And how am I? I'm going to say no. I mean, for Pete's sake, no, of course not.
Right.
I'm a comic book fan because of Captain America, but that said, one of the reasons I've sacrificed financially, health wise, sleep wise, a lot of sleep missed, was so I can control my comics that I created, whether in partnership with an artist or an artist that I pay. Mm-hmm. And it really comes down to I'm willing to make those sacrifices to tell the stories I want to tell because I believe they're worth doing. And like, some writers, we got to get this stuff out of us. And some of it you just think, oh, somebody else will think this is cool too. And sometimes the things are both. But I don't want somebody else other than the consumer arbitrating what I should be doing. Right. The consumer, the marketplace will tell me if my idea sucks.
Yeah. And if it fails, it fails. But there are people actively out there trying to ruin people's livelihood.
Yeah.
Because they don't agree with them. And that's a bottom line. And then it does, with the tit for tat. And I watched this and I went scrolling through the whole internet and I started follow,
the whole internet?
Oh, no. Well, no. Yeah. Hold on. No, but I went, I did a lot of research today and I just started to follow it. And it all stems really from a disagreement of where people stand politically. And that's how it starts. And then the tit for tat starts. You know what I mean? And then the threats. And one point of advice I'd like to throw out there is do not, unless someone loves you, don't ever call them an asshole online.
I'll go a step further. And if you want to go back to the Beatitudes, Billy, I think it's a really awesome springboard for our personal behavior.
Yeah.
And it can be tough when people are engaging in name calling and you don't. But man, I think that those of us that want to, peace, love comics, the incumbent on us not to go down that part of the rabbit hole. And yet it's hard when you're in the middle of it, man, and stuff is getting slung around.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
I held back a lot of comments this morning. I woke up. Actually, last night was a great night for me. I tend to post, if you follow Twitter at all, I'm Crowdfund Comics. I'm the one that's usually, blasting the Twitter or whatnot, or if we're live on a show, Frank Amazing's doing it. But some guys notice, hey, you got your own personal page. You got to take care of that too. Hey, let's help do it. So I woke up to all these tweets. I'm like, oh man, these guys are great. Look at this. It was. And all of a sudden I'm going through. I'm like, what the hell is all this? And and I'm like, what are these people talking about? A, we're a freshman YouTube channel. Right. B, those that follow us know that we're constantly blasting on every social media. Hey, do you want to be on the show? Do this, do this. Yeah. We don't target any groups. We don't target size. We don't do anything. We are a platform. We are, we're a comic book promoting platform who loves what most of these creators are doing. And believe me, we want to get everyone on, but we can't.
I think one of the great things that we're missing right now, and I use this analogy all the time. So Billy heard it at breakfast. I may have used it on this show before, but here's the deal. I come from a very pro-military family. My dad served in Korea. My brother served for his career. And I'm a very pro-military guy, have been my entire life. So in that aspect, I would qualify as very typically conservative, I guess I would say. So my favorite war comics are Harvey Kurtzman's EC war comics. Mm-hmm. And if you have half a brain when you read them, they're anti-war comics.
Yeah.
They're all about the human cost of war. There is not a note that rings untrue in them. And most importantly, Harvey never forgot that you have to tell the story first. And I would add to that if you have to choose between, if you're if you have to choose between story and sermon, choose story.
Every time.
If you can't do both, and there's a lot of writers, a lot of good writers who can't.
Yeah.
Tell the damn story.
Yep. And that's everything. And
sorry, one more note about this. If you can do both, you can get to talk to people who wouldn't hear you otherwise. If people who you might disagree with, people who you might actually begin to persuade to your point of view, if you can do it in the form of a story. If you do it in the form of a sermon, I'm like, hey, I go to church for that.
Yeah, and a sermon is what has led us to identity comics. You have identity politics. Now it seems that you have identity comics.
And you know what? And you know what? In all seriousness, I don't care what other people do in their comics if I'm not reading them. If it's a bad comic, that's my choice. I don't read it. I don't want to tell them not to do that. Now, business-wise, I think it's really dumb to immediately hack off and dismiss half your potential audience, because that's what we're talking about in this country. It's not like there's 900% of the people are one way, and it's pretty big mix.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's really incredibly stupid to come out and say I'm politically this or that, and you should buy my comic anyway. It's naive. Not in the political volatile area where, and the thing that's I think the most unfortunate about it is, like I said, who wants to miss out on great comics?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's comics for everybody.
Yeah, well,
that's the thing.
Yeah, and that's what drives me crazy when you have, this is all about creator rights. And
it's about creative freedom, and it's about consumer freedom.
Yeah, but they're there to try to block.
Yeah.
And not allow the consumers to have freedom, and not allow the consumers, shaming the consumers for buying one book or another. I went on this one page, and they blocked me first, and then I blocked them because I had just had it. Because I'm like, well, I'm like, nah. Some people tell me block this person. And I'm like, nah, it's probably a misunderstanding because they don't hear me. They're not listening to me. And I'm sure if we were having a discussion face to face, then, we would have been able to, to work this out. And then I even threw an olive branch. Well, why don't if you have a problem with someone, who is that person? Let's get that on the show. And let's see if you got, you're a creator. This other person's a creator. Let's hash it out. See if you guys can come to some kind of agreement and see, that what's good and the benefits, the what's good in each other and what's not, what's bad in each other, and have an open dialogue. Well, that was not happening. This person was like a lunatic, and I was just like, I couldn't, just the
There's no reasoning. There was no reasoning.
Yeah, there was no reason. So then I actually went on the page, and then I felt bad because I'm like, well, you know what? I'm going to tell these people. I hope I didn't insult you. For any of you who contributed to my zombie song, I'll refund your money. And I went down the list of the people, and there was like 100 of them or something. Not one of those people contributed to my book. So then I'm like, well, why am I wasting my time with these people? Half of them don't even have real names, you know what I mean? And half of them little, manga, things and stuff like that. They're not even real people. And now I'm all for someone having a creative name on Twitter and stuff. Apparently,
that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Here's what I'd like to say. You see these ads on TV for car companies, and they'll say, not actors, real people. Well, actors are real people too. Really.
Yeah.
But just because they don't use their name. Now, I don't participate in chats a whole lot of the time because, quite frankly, I prefer people using their real names. That's me. Yeah. I'm not. Who am I to go tell everybody to use that?
Right.
Yeah.
The Federalist Papers were not published under the guy's names.
Yeah. No. Well, somebody posted about Billy effing Tucci, and I just saw it and it just disappeared. How that happened?
That's what you're known as now.
Yeah, and Bill and she and those of you know my wife, she's tough. She's really tough. She's really sweet. But she's she's got this jaw and she fights. And anyway, so she said you know, you're not this, you're not that. You know, you're Billy. Well, I think, no, she didn't say mother. She said, you're Billy fucking Tucci. That's who you are. And you tell them, and I'm like, yeah, I'm Billy fucking Tucci. Yeah. So that's me. I'm Billy fucking Tucci. Welcome to our show. So, and then that's when I was like, you know, the hell with these people. The hell with this. I don't have any need for any toxicity in my life. I almost lost my wife with the birth of our 13-year-old son 13 years ago. She was in the hospital for a month. She had complications from a botched cesarean, and she went into septic shock. We like I said, we almost lost her. Then a few years later, she got breast cancer. Then after she beat that, with all the things that went on with that, and that was a horrifying year and a half of our lives. Then she had an aortic aneurysm in her heart. She had to have open heart surgery. So I don't have time for toxicity, and I don't have time to look back into tweets from a year and a half ago. If someone comes on our show and we put it out there, and we have we reached out to our friends, Old Bean, thank you for being there from the very beginning with us, because it's the people we know. You know, I'm new at it. You know, I'm new at crowdfunding. Yeah. I totally am, and I love it. I find it so fascinating. I am so encouraged by the possibilities. And then
you were kind of at a forefront of that. I mean, before crowdfunding, you did it. You did it the hard way.
Right. Yeah.
You did it the hard way without the technologies, without the tools. I mean, and I give you credit, my friend, because I'll tell you right now, and this is not a knock to any creator, it is very hard. I myself probably wouldn't even, after knowing what it took to, back in '94 doing your book on your own, I mean, I probably would never have done that. Yeah. Not with not having the tools and ease that we have today.
I think one of the things that we're sort of skating around here is that if you love comics and you love good comics, and we hear people speculating about the superhero movies, like there's going to be superhero movie fatigue, and we talked about this when we did the Avengers Roundtable show, and I'm going to say the same thing I said that night, which is nobody's tired of good novels, nobody's tired of good video games, nobody's tired of good TV shows, nobody's tired of good comics.
Right.
Exactly.
And we should all bleed primary colors.
And this is the thing. I am really fortunate with the cover artists I get to work with. Billy's an example, but I mean, if you look at the Overstreet comic book price guide, in number 5, 6, and 7, Bob Overstreet had Joe Kubert, Will Eisner, and Carl Barks. That's the gauntlet that was set down before me.
Wow.
Okay. So every year I'm trying to live up to that.
Yeah. And
the thing about it is I don't got time for somebody's politics. I want to know, do they do good comics?
Yeah. And you made a testament to that, to the Overstreet price guide. Was it last year's or the year before?
Last year. Yeah.
And that was pretty cool. If you want to explain to everybody what you did.
Yeah, sure. And it wasn't deliberate. See, that's the best part about it to me.
Yeah.
Is that these were just the choices that I made. I'm interested always in our main cover being something that is highly accessible to newcomers and to established fans. And the main cover is almost always going to be superheroes or supervillains from the top echelon under a top creator. And so I really wanted to have Flash, Barry Allen Flash, and Hal Jordan Green Lantern. To me, the quintessential cool DC team is those two guys. And I got Ethan Van Sciver to do it. And it was right before all the political hoo-ha really escalated. And it wasn't anything I wanted to walk away from, was because, as far as I was concerned, I don't care what his politics are. I mean, as long as he's not out there doing something vile, I'm not even talking about saying, but out there doing, then I'm not going to make a change for that. Yeah. But the funny part was, because it was the 35th anniversary of American Flag, one of the most influential comic books of the 80s for anybody my age, that was a creator, we all still talk about Flag and the impact it had on us. And Howard Chaykin is, let's say, to the left of Ethan. Not passing any value judgments there. That's just
to the left of Ethan.
That's just how it is.
Yeah.
And the fact that I had those guys on in the cover on New Year, and what I was telling Billy was, a friend of mine commented, like, "How do you deal with the politics?" And I said, "What politics? Look at my cover artists."
Yeah.
You know what my politics is? What book's going to sell?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think it's nonsense that we would ever approach things in a way in a marketplace that is hurting.
Mm-hmm.
It's nonsense
to
embrace anything that divides us.
Yeah.
They push talent aside. They literally pushed all the talent aside, and they brought, maybe I'm speaking a little out of turn, maybe I'm wrong, but they took the talent out. They brought people in so the fingers don't point at them. That's what it appears to me.
Well, the thing is, and I've been reading, and I saw these things about gatekeepers and stuff like that. And for the mainstream comics, there's a lot of gatekeepers that come from the top, and they're preventing audiences from reading the characters that they love. Now, Jeff and I had this conversation that I think it was 2 years ago at the New York Comic Con, and there was a revolt at the Marvel retailer dinner, a breakfast. And one of the retailers were really up in arms because they were publishing more and more books, regardless of what the retailers had wished for, or what the retailers had expressed the kind of books they want, and they wanted the classic characters. That's what the fans have. And I think it was the editor-in-chief, and I think it was the head of marketing or something like that. And they were saying, well, Marvel doesn't do comics for the people that are already in your store. Marvel does comics for the people that go to see the Avengers, and they get so excited about that movie, they want to then come into that store and buy those comics. And then the retailer stood up and said, yeah, but those characters aren't in your comics anymore. Mm-hmm. And it really exploded into a big brouhaha. It spilled out into the hallway and all. I think they shut it down early. And what came out of it is, I think Marvel, I don't think it was official. I'm not sure, but the guy from Marvel said, well, it's obvious to us that comic book retailers do not want diversity.
I know that comment was reported. I do not know how accurate that was, and that's one of the first things that I want to say here is that we've in the internet age, we all got to learn to be careful about hearsay, because
that posted.
Listen, well, if it's posted, it must be true. Okay,
no, I think
listen to what I'm saying. It's probably true. I heard it from enough people, but let's just for a moment set that aside. And well, no, let's just focus on it for a second. It is a patently absurd statement. Comic book people have been very receptive to all sorts of diverse storytelling since the X-Men started in the 60s, since the Fantastic Four hit it big. All these kind of things like that. These stories are just we basically accept them. But here's the underlying thing, and I'm going to keep on harping on this, man, because it's the truth. Nobody's tired of good comics.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And diversity is what comics taught us. I mean
this is it, Niall. That's exactly right.
If you look at it and you look at the fans and the creators and this and that, I mean, there really is there's no bias. I mean, the creators that we create, their main conflict is the fact that the rest of the world thinks they're different and they're not accepted. That's half of like the characters out there. So you feel for them, and then naturally a lot of us then feel for real people that way. Yeah. There isn't that. And with all mainstream media, and like you're saying, I mean, everyone loves good comics. No one hates a good comic. And the same goes with television, radio, other things. But politics and the media and the news and what do they call it, fake news and other things like that, I mean, they have just literally polluted everything to the point that all of our entertainment's like divided.
Yeah, but here's the thing, man. This is a really important little add-on to this thought. if you have a character that you've created and that character is political, I'm not saying don't do that. I'm not saying don't do that if his opinion is 100% opposite mine.
Yeah, it could be a really good comic.
Because it really could. I think if you go back to the early issues of Blood Syndicate, man, that's not my cup of tea. Those are outstanding comics.
Yeah.
They're not as. I mean, I don't think they're as good as the first 13 issues of Static, mind you, but that was outstanding stuff.
Yeah,
and it really comes down to they weren't coming along and using existing characters for their mouthpiece.
Yeah.
And see, that's what I don't think people get about people getting bothered about it. If you look at characters that are newly created, well, why shouldn't they have a leaning one way or the other if they don't have this 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years of fan baggage? And I don't mean that in a bad way, but we all have expectations about Batman.
Correct.
We know how Batman's going to act in a situation. And when somebody writes a Batman story that goes against that, we all go, what?
Yeah. Yep.
See, Good Ideas Comics, he said, at One Slick Dude, for the people who want the diversity, there will never be enough, which is incredible because all these comics are diverse, and
we absolutely, Niall, boy, you're dead on.
I mean, if people would just open their eyes and actually see what's out there, and that's the sad part. And in doing my research today, a lot of, like, on Twitter, there was a lot of comments going around. I didn't make comments for quite a while as I gathered my thoughts, and I posted a statement out there, and it's pretty direct, and I think it explains who we are. And what I've begun to realize with each statement is that people were just tagging off of an initial comment. They've never watched the show. If I ask them to tell me about myself, they have no clue who I am. They have no clue who Billy is. They could Google him and find out who he is, but no one actually knows who we are and what our show was about, but they tagged along. And I think that's the same mindset now, because there's been this divide and this sea has been separated and the waters don't want to merge. They're not looking at each other's work.
Oh, sure. Listen, there's some, there's plenty of that to go around. I think we see it in the back and forth on people talking about the actress who played Captain Marvel in the Marvel movie, and she made some comments. They were stupid, but they were far more innocuous than they were made out to be. And even if they were stupid, okay, let's for point of discussion say they were stupid.
Yeah.
One, so what? And two, did it really affect your life a whole lot? Do you think she was the one making the decision about how the movie got made?
Yeah.
And I mean, we're talking about multi-$100 million franchises that every aspect is controlled by a corporation. And, I don't think badly. I think by and large, the Marvel movies have just been awesome. But in all seriousness, there were people who were talking about the movie sucking before it had ever come out. That's as dumb as something coming from the other side.
Yep. I know, and the sad thing is if you actually start seeing where these comments are coming from, it's these people. That's how they make their name. Some of them are creators, and it's maybe what was it? Did Sora say it or something? One of our guests said it, right, Billy? That they're kind of taking their anger out. Taking their anger out in ways.
Lives. So they're reacting to their own unhappiness in their own lives, which has nothing to do with the people that they're targeting,
Yeah. And I mean, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So if I may, I go back. It was Marvel's vice president of sales, and he says that people were turning their noses up at diversity and didn't want female characters out there. They didn't want female characters out there. That's what we heard, whether we believe that or not. So,
but see, like me, I'm not against.
That's a pretty dumb statement.
Yeah,
I don't know that it's that. I don't know that that's really true, but that's what we saw in sales. any character that was diverse, any character that was new, or female characters, anything that was not a core Marvel character, people were turning their nose up. So they're saying that people turn their nose up to these new. No, and then someone said Marvel thinks diversity is ruining their sales. I don't know. Maybe turning Captain America, a worldwide symbol, into a Nazi has something to do with it.
Literally 3 weeks before that. See, that's a perfect one, because there's press accounts you can back this up. There were people starting to write columns in major newspapers, major media outlets, that were saying Captain America 3 weeks before the Nazi issue of Cap, saying Captain America has replaced Superman as the patriotic character in this country.
Ooh.
And as a lifelong Captain America fan, I'm on board, but the timing of that was spectacularly bad.
Yeah.
And it was really shallow thinking to think that was going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, are we supposed to believe that Jack Kirby and Joe Simon would have liked that?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That was just dumb. But let's be clear about this, guys. There is elements of intolerance across the spectrum here. And do you mind if I indulge a couple examples here?
Sure, go right ahead.
Okay. I got criticism on my Facebook page the other day because of the She cover for the Overstreet, because intelligent, capable women have to be scantily clad, something along the lines was the comment. And I'm like, yeah, because all the guys in comics are dressed so demurely, but I didn't react to it. I just don't do politics on my page, so that I just hid the comment. But at the same time, when I was doing the Vampire PA Kickstarter last time, and the character of Dee Dee, who was Dean's girlfriend, got turned into a vampire in the trade paperback, and she's trying to find out how not to be one, but in the meantime they're fighting vampires, and so she has all the strength and everything else like that. And one guy posted that, the girl's beating up a guy, you must be a social justice warrior. I'm not looking at this. Okay, one, it's a vampire story. How freaking realistic are you expecting it to be?
Exactly.
Secondly, if you look at the internal logic of vampire stories, they're stronger. And thirdly, you didn't even read it. Well, that really should be the first one, right? But so to me, it's coming from both sides, where we've positioned ourselves where we can't even talk to somebody else. That's nonsense.
Yeah, or people are afraid. Yeah, people are afraid to talk. With creators that are conservative, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, even listen. I mean, pretty much anybody who knows me knows where I stand on the military stuff, and some people know other politics about me, and a handful of people know a lot, and I don't let that. I'm not. That's not going to stop me from talking to somebody about this. I know many of the guys that you've had on this show, and I know where a lot of their politics stand, and they're all over the freaking map.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you guys have done the right thing about only talking about it when people wanted to talk about it. You haven't tried to make comics about that, because let me tell you, we go too far down this road, we might as well just quit, man. We're in this great era. We are in this era where our characters, you can imagine how bad Hollywood would be off without us the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And it makes zero sense to cut off half your audience. It makes no sense whatsoever, unless you just like to be hated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you think you've got all the answers and all that, maybe that's the thing you do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's just frustrating. So one person said, "Well, why don't you have any LGBTQ characters? Why aren't you talking about any books with that?" And I was thinking now with the Lady Death universe, he has there's a lot of LGBTQ characters in his universe. Our second guests were Tim Rozon and Bo Smith from Winona Earp, And of the 4 top characters, you have Winona, Doc Holliday, and then you have Waverly. Officer Hot. And of those 4, 2 of them are lesbians.
Yeah.
And then we had, and so right off the bat of the first 2.
And then Painkiller Jane's what? She's bi, right?
Yeah, Painkiller Jane is identifies as bi. And Painkiller Jane, Jimmy would have been like the 3rd guest or 5th guest, but he pushed his Kickstarter back. He wasn't ready for Kickstarter, so he was number 12. So I was like, what is this person? And I would explain this to this person, this guy, and this nut, and he just kept ignoring it. You seem very defensive, and I'm like, what? And why not go through? Why use these big names and not, have you had any LGBTQ characters? I'm like, I just told you, I just run down the thing. Look at the shows.
Oh, then he's saying we have most of our guests are all, as he says, are Comics Gate. Actually, we have a very well-diverse lineup, and we've only done 20 shows.
Yeah, but someone said 90% of our guests were Comics Gate. And then I went through to see and like, all right, what is Comics Gate? Who's on Comics Gate? And it looked like, I think it was 6 of our first
6 out of 20 of our guests.
And none of nothing, though. And those 6 creators, though, now we asked Ethan, because I'm friends with Ethan. We asked the Brightwisers. I'm not sure if they are. We had Doug TenNapel, who was associated with it. And these are just my friends. Just like I'm friends with Jimmy Palmiotti, who isn't. Brian Polito, who isn't. Yeah. We asked Gail Simone to come on. She's been busy. We asked, all these people that have these crowdfunded projects to come on. Sora Sung, she certainly isn't. No. And
they're on because we respect their work and what they've done.
And I'm sorry, I forget the gent's name, the guy from Alterna Comics. It was one of your best shows.
Peter Samedi. Peter Samedi's a great guy.
Not only that, that's a whole line of comics. There's not one editorial viewpoint represented there.
Yeah, and Mark Wheatley. I mean, look at Mark.
Yeah.
He's like a hippie,
Yeah.
And I like to say zip it hippie to him.
But that's where it falls back to what I was saying, just kind of the uneducated assumptions. I mean, if we had one type of guest for 150 shows, they might have something to lean on. But none of the accusations are true. Yeah. And in my statement, I said, do not judge our guests. Do not talk about our guests. We are not going to background check our guests. We look at their work. We look at their work. They send us stuff to review. They email us. We email for guests. We've got people from all games. We have books with LGBTQ characters. We're waiting for responses, or they're not going to come on until maybe mid-July or August because of when their Kickstarter starts.
Right. Let me ask you a question now.
Yeah.
I see frequently you posting, like if you are thinking about doing a Kickstarter, if you're about ready to launch or whatever, contact me.
Correct.
Those kind of posts, I've seen them on Twitter. I think I've seen them on Facebook too.
Twitter, and, Instagram, Facebook.
I've never seen you say if you have one political viewpoint or another.
In the refrigerator, in the box on the top shelf.
Exactly. And if these people,
I think Billy needs a mute button.
I think he does too.
I did mute.
There is a mute button right on your mic. I think if these people actually took the time to see what's going on. I mean, honestly, look, if there, and I've said it to many people, I've said it into live broadcasts or what have you. If there is a project you think should be on the show, bring it to our attention. We have worked very hard. All of us have very successful careers. So, this isn't a full-time job. This is what we want to do because we recognize a need for this, and we recognize the
proverbial passion project.
It's a passion project. So the little bit of free time we have where we're not sleeping, because we, as you know, us creators, we don't sleep much. We're trying to bring this to the world. So, it did irk me in the sense that people are questioning our guests. Why it irked. So let me dial it back a bit because I'm about to fire off.
So that was again, and this is where the whole thing that we've asked people for the past 50 years. Well, how do you feel about this, rather than what do you think about this?
Where have I heard that?
Thank you. And so that's a point where that everyone. It's all about their feelings and how they feel something. And, and what's going on in comics right now and what happened yesterday is a perfect setup for, fuck your feelings. Sorry. Why don't you think about it? Let's think about it. Let's have an engaged discussion. Let's talk. But people are unhinged. I've seen some photos from some of these people. Someone sent me the one guy that was harassing Betty Breitweiser and stuff, and I'm like, oh boy, this guy's a lunatic. And I don't know if they're attention seekers, but I don't think there's any place for that in this creative community.
You know, I think one of the things about that, Billy, is that we, and I think rightly, have hesitated to out these people publicly with a huge cross section of support from the political spectrum. I think one of the things about it that made me so happy when the FBI showed up at your house was the outpouring was really from everyone.
Yeah.
And I was so encouraged by that, because you and I both were a little bit down before that happened about how this was really starting to spiral. And then when that happened, and that's a horrible thing to have happen, but truthfully, your friends came out of the woodwork from across the spectrum.
Yes.
And man, that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. And because it was so out of left field. And again, you could check my social media, I mean, I do have that thing I do. I'll admit I do. And we had that conversation at breakfast that I do think that Barbara Streisand was the best Hello Dolly.
Yeah, see, that's just I just think you're just slighting Carol Channing like crazy, but okay.
She's far superb to Carol Channing.
And Carol Channing did sing "Hello Space Ghost," so
right, that's right. So we'll give her that. But my biggest problem with Barbara Streisand is that when my friend Ronnie Patika, we all went to see The Way We Were in 1973 and got into this movie somehow. We were all 7 years old because my friend Ronnie told us it was a dinosaur movie. And Robert Redford for 2.5 hours or whatever.
Just waiting for the dinosaurs.
Yeah, and I remember asking him, Ronnie, the dinosaur's going to come. He's like, they're coming, shh, they're coming. And that's why I can't stand her.
That's really spectacular.
Horrifying. So anyway, so that's the point. And again, and there are people on the wrong side. But then we had a guest the other night, and he was saying, and then someone threw something out there from an old tweet or whatever, or something he said, and our guest said, and I really said, something I regret. I said something that, and he just let it out there, and I said something that I regret. And and we moved on from it.
Yeah, straight honesty. Said he regretted it. Even I think extended an apology again. You get heated up and you say stuff.
And you even see some of the other things, and you have people that and give everyone the benefit of the doubt. If they're if they apologize, and give them the benefit of the doubt, let them apologize. And if they feel they have to, there were things, but then there's these weird pressures going on where you have even the left eating the left, attacking each other, like the things that happened with Dan with the cover. That someone said the cover was misogynistic and aimed at one of the characters' private parts or something crazy like that. And people started attacking Dan Panosian. And Dan is the sweetest guy in the world, one of the most talented creators in comics. And they went up to him as a misogynist. And Dan's like, where did that guy? Dan is the sweetest, most liberal person you'll ever meet in your life. He'll give you the shirt off your back. And I get to, and you feel for him, because people they immediately jump at something. They have to jump on it. And then it's like a feeding frenzy,
They're not educated. They're just following the herd.
The whole thing right now is we are enculturing people as a whole to look for the gotcha moment.
Yep.
And it's just ridiculous. I mean, if you dial it back to your family, and I'm not talking online behavior, I'm just talking about family conversations. Can you imagine the number of times in a given year that somebody says something stupid?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right.
And I'm not saying because I've hung out at Billy's or anything like that. But in all seriousness, somebody will say something indefensible, and then they will spend the next 40 minutes defending it.
Yeah.
And the logic gets more convoluted. And this is humanity, man. Yeah. The human condition is hypocrisy. I heard it said that hypocrisy is the grease that lets society function.
Oh, gee.
And because, if we all were living up to our ideals, it'd be pretty regimented kind of society,
Right.
And I think that if we don't, I mean, I don't want to go overboard philosophically here, but if we don't learn to start forgiving people before they ask for it, for these mistakes, because everything is under a microscope. And I think that if you guys watch any TV in HD that isn't, I mean, like live TV in HD, nobody's meant for high def, man.
No.
There's not one of us that is meant for high def. And
maybe that
HD ruined my old time shows I like watching, because then you're looking at the set and you're like, hey, that's a 1x3 piece of wood. They didn't even paint the whole thing.
Yeah, and listen, there's plenty of that stuff, and I want to say that I really appreciate you guys having this as a topic tonight. It's something we need to talk about, and you know what? Truthfully, I don't think we should spend a ton of time on it.
Yeah, no.
As a society, I think we need to say, okay, this is screwy. Here's how we see it. Here's how those of us who think it's a waste of time see it.
Yep.
And this is the thing. I'm not trying to slight anybody of any particular political viewpoint or the other. I think you guys have heard me. I said stuff about both sides tonight. And I'm not talking a lot about my own views, and I'm not talking a lot about things being wrong. I'm talking about kindness, really. Like, how can we not tolerate differences of opinion when, nobody ever got converted from their political opinion one way or the other by a Facebook meme? Nobody's sitting around waiting to say, oh, hey, I was waiting for this issue of the Avengers so it could totally change my mind about X.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's why we have to resist, and we have to confront those that want to be this new Comics Code Authority, that are actively out there trying to shut down creators because they may have differing political views in that.
Yeah, and I think that's appalling, and
it is.
We're not supposed to say people should be ashamed of themselves, but they really are, because these are people who theoretically like the First Amendment.
Yep.
And
yeah.
I mean, it's really just, honestly, I mean, I said it in my statement at the end, let's make comics fun again. ... Seriously. Like, let's just get back to the fun of comics. And you can have diversity. You can have any type of character you want.
Let me tell you, man.
I mean,
I am so uninterested in what somebody's political viewpoint is. I'm only interested in, can they tell me a good comic book story?
Yeah. And, and honestly, crowdfunding comics, we're about the projects and stuff like that. But when topics like this come up, we are going to talk about them. We have to.
Yeah. And we will engage. And
we will engage in them, because we can't sit
engage.
Back. Yeah, engage number one. We have to talk about it. We have to let people know.
As much as I don't want to spend a ton of time on it, this is all, every bit of this is worthwhile, because, quite frankly, those of us that aren't engaging in this stuff need to encourage each other.
Mm-hmm. We need to work together, because that's one thing. And I've seen it with all the professionals that are really working in the industry, is whatever you hear, it's the opposite. It really is. If someone has beef with someone, it's really not true. And everyone supports one another. And that's what a lot of creators starting out need to understand. They support one another. They're competing with one another. But it seems like that, they support that person. Then, because I guess you never know who you may collaborate with someday. Everyone has so many great ideas.
Why would you cut yourself off from that?
Exactly. That person may be doing something completely different than you, but you respect what they're doing because they work just as hard as you. They sleep. They don't sleep like you, And someday, because you've kept good rapport with that person, someday you guys might be at a show, this and that, just happen to get on the right conversation at the right time and create the next big thing. You never know.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is like I said, give people a pass, and I have seen it, but again, I was going through it, and it was really aggravating the hell out of me. And there are just a lot of unhinged people who have a new weapon, and they've weaponized social media, and they've turned it into a cesspool, and they've turned it into something that's ruined lives. That you have children, bullying, and it's so funny. And a lot of them seem to be the people that were so bullied themselves growing up that now they have a tool to be the bullies themselves, and they are bullying them. There was that Big Bang Theory episode about that, where
well, it must be true then.
Yeah, no, but they were picking on Penny's boyfriend because he wasn't a comics geek or anything like that, and didn't know film like they knew and stuff, and they literally turned it to the bullies.
Yes.
And they were all bullied, and that's a dangerous weapon when you have this person, like they say, hiding in their mother's basement, banging away, and throwing daggers out at people, and literally trying to destroy someone else's livelihood because they're so miserable in their own friggin' lives. So instead of doing something to better themselves or to add some positivity to their own lives, they just spread their toxicity to try to bring down others. And you know what? They will not. They will not survive. This is not going to be. And I'll stand there. I'll be there.
Yeah, and no further.
No, I will not allow another Frederick Wortham's Seduction of the Innocent. There will not be another Comics Code Authority of this thought police that are telling people who they can vote for, who they can support, which creators they can support, and who they can love, who they can marry, which teams they can root for. Nobody cares about that, but and we've got to stop that. There is no room for that, and comics have always prevailed over this toxicity. Going with the crashes, going with, like I said, with the Seduction of the Innocent thing, going with the newsstand, going with the various political things that have happened, the giant events that have tanked comics, with all these crazy variants and things like that, putting shops out of business. But the comic book.
No. Totally disagree. Okay, variants aren't putting comic shops out of business.
You don't think so?
No, absolutely not, because they don't have to get them.
Yeah.
This is bad decision making.
You're right.
Listen, I think it's removing their responsibility from it. I think that there's plenty to go around. I think that there's all sorts of stuff here that has to on the business side of comics. But let's not conflate the two and say that.
Well, then I apologize.
Yeah. It's just like the Eastern Daylight Time thing,
Well, I was just trying to add things to the crashes we had, and I was on a roll. I don't want to. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, but you're just throwing stuff out that like literally, if you want to get on about the crash, let's get the torches and pitchforks out and go find the guys who wrecked the trading card market first, and then came over to us.
I do have to agree with Jeff as far as his. It's about ordering smart. I knew a lot of comic shops that blamed, what they were told they had to order and what they had to do. And then I became really good friends with a couple shop owners who are like, oh, you don't really have to order this. You don't have to order that. You need to know your consumer, and you have to know what you're ordering. Yes, there are a lot of variants out there. So it is there are a lot of variants out there. And if you're not smart about it, you can sink your ship. You can sink your ship by buying a lot of stuff that's not going to sell. And it is about your market and being a business person.
And if you're an owner, you got to have a frontline manager. If it's not you, and you got to have somebody that is keeping up with it on a daily basis. When you run into that title that stops selling, that's been a strong seller, or the opposite, when you run into that title that suddenly is taken off. And that requires being very nimble, very paying attention. The diamond system works as well as you utilize it, and that doesn't mean it's magic.
Yeah. No, very true. But I mean, Jeff, you've been awesome tonight. You have given so much to this conversation. We appreciate that. And in doing so, why don't we take a second from this conversation and let's show what Jeff's been up to. Jeff has just launched a Kickstarter for bedtime stories for impressionable children. It's a trade paperback. Jeff, I want to play the video for our viewers, and then we'll jump right into, we'll let you jump in right to your campaign, all right?
Oh, that's great. Okay, thanks.
And then maybe we'll take a trip around Crowdfunding Comics.
Oh, sorry, I muted it so no one would hear anything. So tell us a little bit about the campaign we have going on.
Well, how about a little bit of background first on the story? The campaign itself is pretty good. We launched last night, and we're at 21% now, which is great. I'm really excited about this. Bedtime Stories for Impressionable Children is a property I created in high school. And it's something that I love the Twilight Zone. I love the old EC comics. I didn't grow up with the ECs. I grew up with the reprints. And Bruce Jones's work with Alien Worlds and Twisted Tales. And I've always loved those kind of anthologies, creepy and eerie. The great reprint books that are coming out from Dark Horse and hardcover now, just phenomenal stuff. But when I first started writing it was actually the first film script I tried to write. I wanted to have. I didn't even know that they were going to actually succeed in doing anthology movies, though a short while later, eventually the Twilight Zone movie came together. And it really was just about telling these weird stories with the proverbial O. Henry or Rod Serling twist endings. And I've wanted to do it for a long time. I did an issue of it at Moonstone, and I did an issue of it in American Mythology. And I've been blessed to find a number of people who want to participate in this. You saw some of the names on there. I mean, former Marvel editor-in-chief Jim Shooter and my good friend Joe James, who is an acclaimed storyboard artist. But Joe, his background was that he was at Milestone, Defiant, and Broadway. And he loves comics and is a master of the art form. But he's best known these days. He does 3 or 4, maybe even more Super Bowl commercials a year. He's a really upper echelon storyboard guy. And to get him to do that, Mark Wheatley, whose cover you're showing right now, I
love his work.
I've been blessed to have Mark as my production mentor for more than 20 years, and I've collaborated with him on a number of properties. And the story there, the Toothpick Warriors, so it was the cover you were showing by him. This cover you're showing right now is the Kickstarter exclusive cover, and it and the main cover, the blue one, are by my friend James Nelms, who I've known since junior college and is literally the first guy I ever collaborated on a comic with. We did a comic strip in our college newspaper. If you want to know something amazing about that book, look at that art there. It's just killer, right?
It's
okay. The only thing illustrated in that is the figures in the windows. That is an abandoned house that he went out and lit up.
Oh, really?
With lights, and he didn't even jack with it in Photoshop. It's just a long exposure. He goes out and finds these places. He's just so freaking talented, man.
Wow.
Yeah. And the only thing illustrated in there, now there's a lot more illustration in the second cover he did, the Kickstarter one, with the flying saucer. But the saucer itself is a real thing. And he just, he did his bit with the background and with the aliens. Just super talented guy. And this book has the first comic story he ever did in it. And I'm really, really very excited about it. The thing to me, like I've got Mark Ricketts, who created Nowheresville, one of my all-time favorite comics. And if you can find the back issues or the Image trade paperback, I totally recommend it. I mean, if you gave me a call and said you can make a movie out of anybody else's comic that you get to direct, oh man, it'd be Nowheresville in a heartbeat, man. It was just so awesome. Beat generation crime novel. It's just great stuff. And so he and Micah Ferrator did a story called Renee, that is just, it's really touching. It's not something that would have been aimed at kids, which is sort of our joke. You know, we bill it as wildly inappropriate for children, but it's actually mildly inappropriate for children. The content is here. There's nothing super gross, but there's some fun stuff. There are definite twist endings in all these stories, and that I was able to get all these guys to jump in and do this with me was phenomenal. So there's the first two issues, the number one from Moonstone back in 2010, the 2017 number one from American Mythology, and a bunch of previously unpublished content.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, and so it'll have 96 pages, black and white, plus an 8-page color gallery of all the covers, which are some, like, as you can see, these three exquisite images from folks. And it's to say this is a passion project is an understatement. I've just never let go of loving the idea of this. And the host character is a guy named Uncle Alonzo Del Vecchio. And Alonzo is an unemployed construction worker. And his wife is badgering him to get a job. And then finally she comes up with the idea that you should open a daycare. And so you have this mismatch of the Alonzo and all these little kids. And as soon as he opens the daycare, his wife leaves him. And so he's the host character, and he's the one telling these inappropriate stories to the kids.
Excellent. Well, guys, if you guys could please go to it and check it out. Please, if you could pledge, join us in pledging for Jeff. It just went live, and the crew. If you can't, at least share it.
Share it, yeah. Share it on social media if you
absolutely.
can.
Every set of eyeballs we get on that is another opportunity. And there are times where all of us, when you don't have the money to bid on all the pledge on the all the Kickstarters or Indiegogos that you want to do, sometimes the timing's lousy. And man, everybody understands that. Mm-hmm. But if you can share it around and get other people to see it, and it's one more opportunity that we get to make this thing a reality.
Thank
you.
Well,
awesome.
Now, we have a Kickstarter. Maybe we should hit do we have any crowdfunding callouts set up? Particular an Indiegogo maybe and a Kickstarter as well that we could do that, and we could maybe bid our friends adieu.
If we don't have one, I have one that I can suggest one right now. It's on Kickstarter.
Okay.
I had a Kickstarter I wanted to talk about that.
All right, then go right ahead.
That I had mentioned to you now. Did you grab that?
No, I didn't grab those. I thought I was gonna just kind of peruse around and see. I mean, there's a bunch of cool projects out there, but what did you have, Jeff?
My friends at American Mythology are doing a art book about the 100th anniversary of Zorro.
Really?
And it literally just launched tonight.
Oh wow, let's find that.
Yeah, there it is, right there. And I've seen some layouts from this book, and it really looks like it's going to be excellent.
200+ page hardcover tome of rare art memorabilia. Let's play the video.
Wow.
No, very cool.
And I gotta tell you, the guys at American Mythology have been super to work with. I wrote Stargate Atlantis, Stargate Universe, and a few other things for them. And they've released Zombie Proof, and they released to the direct market Vampire PA.
Wow.
Awesome.
Do you want to peruse, or you want to cut it short?
Well, I do want to go to one Indiegogo, and I'm gonna have him on our show because I really liked the art. I've been diving into the story of it, and I want to give a shout out. Someone mentioned it in chat, which is Shinobi Sasquatch. Thank you, Dark Admiral Marcher. What's that?
Aren't they coming on our show?
We're working on scheduling him. Yeah, I think I'm gonna look at. What are we looking at? Are we? Is our Tuesday guest definite?
I'd like to say that it looks like we have a Tuesday and our Wednesday guest, which we booked already.
Yeah.
And our Tuesday guest, and I'm gonna throw it out there because
say the names. Let people know who we got going on next week.
And we have comic book legend and one of the most prolific creators in the history of this wonderful medium, Mr. Joe Sinnott, will be coming on our show.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we're shooting for Tuesday. We're not sure the time. Really, when Joe Sinnott wants to come on our show, we do what Joe Sinnott asks.
Yes.
I'm also hosting Brian Polito's Lady Death 25th anniversary panel at this weekend's Phoenix Comic Fest, Phoenix Fan Fest, I think it's called now. It was the Phoenix Comic Con, and I'm going to ask Brian if I could video it. And actually, I don't know if I'll be able to stream it from the convention center, but if I could video it, and Brian is a wizard at his 5-minute long panels. He's wonderful. He's entertaining. Mm-hmm. I'm moderating it, so I'll ask him questions, and a lot about that will be about his journey and Lady Death's journey and the Coffin Comics journey with La Muerta, which I think is live now as well.
Yeah, he's got one going on. And then Lee Ditzworth just said, I think Anthony Delaney's fifth issue for Changeling is up too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and we got to get Anthony on because Anthony's not only a comic creator, and I've talked to him. He's always like, "Oh, I've got a face for radio, blah blah." I don't know. I think he's a little nervous, maybe going live. But he's not just he's not just an artist and an author. He's a comic book printer, and he is actually like a go-to guy for indie publishers, self-publishers.
And he's
Niall, that's a good point. Hey, I do want to say something. You just mentioned Lee Ditzworth, and I just want to say thank you to Lee. He was the first person in on Bedtime Stories.
Hey,
Lee, thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm going to see Anthony this weekend too.
Yep.
So I'll
convince that magically bearded man.
Yes. I'll also see Brian Miller, who I'd love to get on. Brian is, of course, one of the most successful colorists of the past 25 years in comics. He also does a lot of crowdfunding books. And I'm going to wrangle a couple other stars. I got to talk to Jim Starlin this past weekend, but I was nervous to ask him if he'd come on. And he was like, well, let's hang out. Maybe we get a beer later on after the show. And I'm like, oh, my God. Yeah. And George Perez, so we'd like to get him on. But we've had a great slew of guests.
Yeah, we've had a great slew of guests. And, we've kind of got, Billy? We've kind of kept it to things like, we've got like Joe Sinnott, and he's going to be our first guest for Crowdfunding Comics Presents Talking with Titans. Yes. These are the guys in the industry that are, still kicking. The guys that they have got stories and worked in a time that, we can only imagine.
I do have one remaining question, and it's for Niall.
Yes.
Do you believe in ghosts?
Of course I believe in ghosts.
Wait, there's more to it.
I don't care about the rest of it.
I do believe in ghosts.
You do.
I've had a lot of fun experiences.
Yeah, well, we are going to have, and we're trying to create, the people that are watching us, we've talked that we try to see if we could somehow do a call-in show to have our
that'd be awesome.
The viewers be able to call in, and maybe we can have a little screen, and they can via Skype can call into our show, and we can put them on for a few minutes and ask them their story, because we want to do a story about ghosts. We got to do a show about Bigfoot, because of what Mitch Breitweiser saw one.
I was not expecting him to be like, "Oh yeah, I saw a Bigfoot." It's like,
It's
what?
like I actually saw one. We're like,
Yeah.
what? Doug with his Bigfoot bill, and because after we got off our show with Doug, I went on YouTube for about an hour afterwards, going through the Patterson film.
Patterson film, yeah.
And I always thought it was a hoax, and then all these people are coming out saying, no, it's not.
No, it's the real deal.
And I'm like, oh my God. So we got to have a Bigfoot show, but we got to have some great, little spooky shows, things like that.
You gotta have Wes on that one.
Oh yeah, we have Wes lined up for a show as well.
Yep. So we have a lot of guests coming up, and hopefully we'll get some of the people that were a little crazy, because I love crazy. I think crazy makes some good video. Yeah. But I think, and I did ask a few of them would you like to come on, and they totally blew it off. They totally went off into left field, saying some weird things. And I think maybe a part of them, they might also know that they're a little crazy too, and they don't want people to actually see them talking.
Yeah.
Because I think they feel safer clicking away behind a computer screen. But that's just.
Oh, listen, there's definitely some of that.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta say, as somebody who's watched your shows and been a part of some of them, is that you guys are really building something here. And I think that the service about Kickstarter, which is my preferred topic about the crowdfunding, is that I've learned a lot from this show already, and it's only 20 episodes old.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to tell you something. We've Billy and I both have run successful Kickstarters, and the first thing that I think we say in any conversation is, "Oh, I should have done that better."
Yeah. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun, Jeff. Niall and I have talked about a vast spectrum of things, and even with the election coming along, maybe we can get into politics and bring opposing views on. But
as long as you make it a separate show.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But there's something I want to do a show about Pokemon, because I think that how is Pokemon not animal abuse?
I don't know if it's abuse though, because I don't know what it's like inside that ball. They may be living the dream.
It's little animals trapped in these friggin' balls, and then they unleash them.
It's like cockfighting.
For their owner's pleasure. You know what I mean? Like, what's up? What's the difference between that and dog fighting? So I want to find out these weirdos that are really into Pokemon and support this animal abuse or Poke abuse.
You know that's fictional, right?
It's not a real thing, Billy.
Am I crazy?
I think you're crazy.
Well, maybe I'm the crazy one.
Hang on, I'm playing Pokemon Go. Hang on. Okay, I'm good.
Pokemon Go, my God.
Wait, guys, let's just get it. I want to give Shinobi Sasquatch Book 1 a shout out. I want to get the video played here.
Yeah.
And Cal Jameson, we will be having on the show. Hi, I'm trying for the week after next.
And creator of Shinobi Sasquatch. That art looks fantastic.
The art is phenomenal.
Wow.
Look at this.
Look at that.
With lycanthropy, who is the Pacific Northwest's fiercest defender. In this, his first story, Shinobi Sasquatch uncovers a plot to steal the minds and souls of everyone in the entire region and mobilize them as a mindless horde to conquer the nation, then the world. The architect of this plot is the wicked Wade DeMarco. He runs the Pacific Northwest chapter of the Awoken Souls Society, an evil clandestine organization who worships the Vile Three, a trio of hideous Lovecraftian sisters. And DeMarco seeks to harness the powers of the Three to enact his insidious scheme. Now, Shinobi Sasquatch will recruit a couple of friends along the way, including Penny Parsons, a young woman of wealth who lives as a hobo in solidarity with the homeless in Portland. Like her much larger and hairier friend, Penny is a master of multiple forms of martial arts, so she is a formidable combatant in her own right. Now, if we hit our $20,000 stretch goal, we will be adding 16 pages, expanding on the existing story to include stuff that we couldn't fit in to the 52 pages, but we really wanted to. Now, if we hit 40,000, we're going to add a 20-page comic, a separate comic, crossing over with Von Klaus's Monster MD, which launches later at the end of this month. And then finally, if we hit $50,000, we're going to add 16 more pages, giving you a whopping 104 pages. So please help us succeed. The book is going to be one of the best on the market, competing with anything that any of the major comic publishers have to offer. But we need your help. We need you to back us, and we need you to share this with as many people as you can, as often as you can. Our reach is only so far, but anyone who sees this beautiful art by Rob Willis with colors by Paul Billick is going to immediately fall in love with this book. It's just a gorgeous book. The story is fantastic, if I do say so myself, and I truly hope you'll consider backing us. Thank you so much.
I absolutely love the art.
That art is fantastic. The video's too long.
The video's too long and the volume's too low.
And that might be that's going to be another show, is about the video too.
Correct.
And production and things like that. It is amazing, that art.
The art is absolutely amazing.
The art's disturbingly good.
Yeah. It's
like that. That's kind of like Billy. That's like the style that is going, like my book. Just to give you an idea of what I'm drawing.
I think it would fit perfect with your subject matter. Perfect. Yeah. And they're already 18 grand. That's great. That's an Indiegogo.
9 days to go.
9 days. So we have. So when are we scheduled?
I want to get him on. It's tough because, I mean, we got some tight schedules. He only has 9 days left. I don't know if you want to try to do. If you want to try to squeeze in 3 shows next week, I can get him on next week.
Yeah, we could do Monday. We could do Tuesday, Wednesday.
You want to do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
Tuesday or Friday. Let me see my itinerary. I have Chicago. I'm going to the town where the guy threatened to murder me, which would be a lot of fun.
Well, you got that going for you.
Right. Well, I'll never be bored. Let me check my email about my itinerary. They sent me my itinerary. I'll see if I'm leaving Tuesday or Thursday. Yeah, we got to get him on. It's just too damn good.
It's beautiful. The artwork's beautiful. So honestly, to me personally, just my opinion. I don't think I brought them up to Billy last night. Dr. White. Yes, Dr. White is the one who brought this up to me, and I freaking fell in love with it right away. The art is just I'll be honest, some of the best I've seen so far in the past couple months. In my opinion.
Revolution. Let's see. Chicago Travel. Okay, let's see if this is it. Oh, Lord.
Well, Billy is looking that up. Niall, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Will I know you've posted it a couple of times. Will the link for bedtime stories be in the description?
The link for bedtime stories will be in the description. I think I can do that live, actually.
Ooh.
Yeah, I can do that live. I'm going to add a link to everything we looked at tonight.
Oh, cool.
So
great.
I'm going to add in Shinobi Sasquatch.
That is amazing looking book.
The art on that is something
I gotta meet
else.
this guy.
Right?
Yeah, Rose said art reminds me of 90s Image. Yeah, but he's also got like Chris Bachelot, feel to it as well. And
there's a lot of. I'd love to know the influences because I see a lot of stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Brilliant. You see the gestures and how alive the illustrations are.
Yeah, I mean, literally, I even saw I may be overreaching, but I saw like Ralph Bakshi in a couple panels there, and just some killer stuff.
Incredible draftsman. What a great idea. A master ninja werewolf Sasquatch.
And that just rolls off the tongue, man.
It does.
So yes, we can do Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week, Niall.
Okay. Busy week next week.
Yeah, because Friday I have to fly to Chicago, and hopefully I'll be back Monday for another show at the following Monday, or Tuesday, probably Tuesday. But yeah, if we can get Joe Sinnott, because we were talking to Joe Sinnott, Andy Smith.
Oh, cool.
Andy Smith on Wednesday for his new how-to. Is it a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo, Niall?
I'm sorry, I was just putting up the links. What was that? Which one is it?
Is Andy Smith's?
His is a Kickstarter.
Okay, so we have Andy Smith's Kickstarter,
So-
Joe Sinnott, because Old Bean, let me tell you something about Joe Sinnott. Joe Sinnott is looking to start doing some crowdfunded comics himself.
Yeah.
And I want to talk to him to try to reprint that Beatles book.
Oh yeah.
And just the black and white art, because he owns all the original art, it's all his art. He can just reproduce that book, because I think the owner of that art, or the owner of that book, the publisher of that book, was Brian Epstein. It wasn't, Capitol Records. Apple wasn't created by then. Apple Records. So there was no Beatles Corporation or anything like that. And
I don't think that that's an immediate as easy as you think it is.
Yeah, but I think if you read the art without the word balloons, without the original color, and just reprint that as a collection of art that he did of this book, it's stunning.
I think that on a small venue, they're not going to go after him, but I honestly think that book could be fairly big, and it might be worth figuring out the appropriate rights and permissions on it to make it even bigger. To me,
he said, he said it's going to cost about $70,000 to figure out if the Beatles if that art is copyright free or not. That's what.
Or we could just wait another 70 years and be fine.
Or we can just, it's better to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission.
Yeah, it said no lawyer.
Sorry. I think by the time the book gets out into people's hands, they could send them a cease and desist letter, like, "Oh, I'm sorry, we won't do it anymore." I don't know.
And then just so I know you brought up our Wednesday's guest for next week is Andy Smith, and this is a little different because it's not a book. Andy does a lot of he's done a few of these dynamic how to draw comics books, and his new book, and you guys are more welcome to check this out, is more of basically he's done the rough for you, and you now draw your character over it. So it's geared towards children and people that are now, trying to get into comics themselves, who, want to learn anatomy and stuff better. He's kind of giving you a few roughs within a book that you can work with. And we'll discuss that with him in some of his other books. It all pairs together. He's got some cool stuff out there. He's definitely got some cool stuff out there, and he's no stranger to crowdfunding.
And he's very entertaining, and that should be a fun show. And it would be good to talk about the art. Let's talk about art.
Yeah.
And so if we can, and because I know that we have, is it Cal? We have Cal scheduled. And again, Joe, we're just hanging on. I don't want to, that's a dream project for me. That is that's something I really want to have Joe Sinnott on. I'd love to sit down and talk to him and have him join us. He's got Skype all set up, the whole deal. Our friend Jimmy, who assists him, is going to be driving from Maine to upstate New York to set it up. And
Jimmy's going to do that? That's awesome.
Yeah, that's why we have to wait.
Yeah, he's a nice dude.
Yeah. Joe and Mark Sinnott, they're not tech savvy. You think I'm a boomer? They outboom me to the OOM.
10-1.
Yeah. So we have to wait for Jimmy to go up there. And Jimmy said, "Yeah, I think Tuesday I can do that." So hopefully we can get Jimmy. I'll be in contact with him this week. And then the following week we got a couple other guests, but one I would love to have and ask Brian Polito's permission. I'd love to post Brian's panel, because I think it'd be really educational for people. Again, he's so entertaining. He was our very first guest. I'm just so proud of him. I'm just so proud to call him a brother, and he's a super inspirational, and he's a friggin' badass. He really is.
Oh yeah.
Fucking rock star.
He has 22 days to go. I mean, we should see if he's interested in promoting his Kickstarter again.
Yeah. Well, I want to bring him on when we announce our San Diego thing.
Okay, perfect.
Not that we're doing anything for San Diego, but if we were, I'd love to bring him on to talk about it.
Understood.
Wink,
wink.
So anyway, guys, you guys are fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Listen, never ever well, we're not going to do it. And maybe we should have done the show, in the middle of the night or early in the morning, because we were all fired up about this. But never ever succumb to bullies. Never ever bow to bullies. Stand your ground. Stand on your principles. And, never lose that love of comics and creativity.
Yeah. And remember that this industry is, it's a brotherhood, a sisterhood, camaraderie. And it's about working together. It's not about being a lone wolf.
Say something stupid, apologize if it's warranted. Don't apologize because someone forces you to. But if I made a mistake. Damn, I should have said that. Yeah, I'm sorry. That was stupid. I've done it, So that's it. But again, guys, peace, love comics. Old Bean, J.C. Vaughn, Vice President of Gemstone Publishing, editor of Zombie Sama. If I may throw a little plug out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Can we go to my page real quick?
I'm already on it.
Thank you. Thank you. I just want to thank each and every one of you out there. If you did pledge for our Zombie Sama project, John Broly and I's book, or if you did share it, at least thank you so much. The book is being lettered right now. I am finishing up the Company Z, the preview edition, the preview, the little 6-page preview. Niall is working on our BillyTucci.com ad. Thank you, Niall. All the covers are all set. They're all the logos are being put on them. And another thing is that none of these books will have barcodes or ISBN numbers. This Kickstarter and this Indiegogo are all for you guys.
Yeah.
They won't be in any comic shops. The edition is
not in this format.
Not in this format, right? Not in this format, because I'd be crazy not to want to put it in the comic book shop, to put it in comic shops later on in the year or next year.
Around the world.
What's the matter? Here's my son Matthew. All right.
I stubbed my toe.
My son Matthew stubbed his toe. He went to the beach.
He deserved it.
And on Long Island where we live, you walk through like a jungle to get to the beach. And I gave him a tick spray, real expensive stuff I used to hunt, and he sprayed it all over his body except for where? Yeah, come over here.
Hey, Billy, I'm going to show the video. I don't know if everyone in here has actually seen the Zombie Sama video.
Okay, if I may, the video was actually edited, put together by Niall Scala. So right now we are less than $500 away from $36,000. So if any of you guys could share this, if any of you guys have pledged it, because this book is going to press probably, this week and next week is short weeks for me, but definitely the week after that. And the book is going to the printer, and it'll be all in your hands by the end of June.
And I can tell you personally, having seen John Brolia's art for years, that he has reached a whole new level with this stuff. Mm-hmm. The script is tight. The coloring is wonderful.
Yes.
I can't wait to see the lettered version of this. I'm looking forward to getting that PDF from you, Billy. And I think that people are going to love it.
Me too.
Oh, yeah.
So can we show the video? Would you mind? And
yes.
Maybe that take us out, and then we can all say sayonara.
You got it.
Be at the Phoenix Fan Fest, please stop by. I'm actually going to do a tweet tomorrow that if any of my followers are at the con this weekend, and maybe you're not planning to buy anything or come by my booth, stop by and say hello. I'd love to meet you guys in person and say hello, shake some hands, and get to know all these new Twitter friends I have. I've gotten, I think I've gotten just about 2,000 new Twitter friends, or in the past 3 months. So you guys have helped me. Thank you very much. For someone that wasn't very engaged, I was having a blast with it until last night, and then I got a little pissed off and everything. But
Water under the bridge now.
Water under the bridge. We drive on. We stay in the arena of civility and positivity, and show my video, and let's say goodbye to everybody. We'll see you guys next week for sure.
Hasta la vista.
Hasta la vista. Thank you, Niall.
You're welcome.
Comic book fans, zombie killers, and Toshiro Mifune lovers all across the world. It's your old pal Billy Tucci coming to you live from my studio, where I am so proud to announce our very first Indiegogo comic book campaign, Zombie Sama. So,
Now people can't hear me, can they?
Yes, they can.
Oh. Well, let's talk about it. Oh, there's John Brolia's really groovy zombies from that's I think that's a Kickstarter. Oh, look at that atomic bomb. There's me again talking. There's Paul Little's glorious colors. He grabs the sword, and he is heroically.
Zombie Summer!
Sword and chainmail armor conveniently appropriated.
I love this video, man.
Is our first victim. He gets chewed apart. Then Sanjuro comes. Look at Jim slices off the head. Saves his ex-girlfriend Jane, who ends up becoming a super badass. Oh, I'm talking. And there's our Akira homage cover. How cool is that?
Covers by John, myself, and European rising star Asha Kishna.
Great stuff.
And because you demanded it, we'll be offering
And
an
as an added
Indiegogo
bonus.
exclusive preview Ash Can edition of my upcoming She, The Return of the Warrior. So please pledge and not only make the She Ash Can a reality, but also Zombie Sama. And on a personal note, I want to thank each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart for 25 wonderful years in the comics industry. You have literally all changed my life. So once again, please pledge, please share. Indiegogo, peace, love, Zombie Sama. It could save your life someday.
Yes, it could.
Just might save your life someday. The music is great.
Jane by Macau.
Yeah, Michael. It's Michael.
Is it Michael?
I
Oh,
for 10 years, I always called him Cal for some reason.
this is the best part of the video.
Yeah.
Zombie Summer.
That was you that did that?
Yeah.
Well done. Well done.
All right, guys. Hey, we've had such a great time tonight.
Yeah.
And, we've got some great shows. As topics come up, we'll do more episodes like this, as well as the traditional crowdfunding comics goodies. And we've got Talking with Titans series coming up. And also, I said it on the other show, we're putting together a contest. I don't know if you know about this, Jeff. What we're going to do, starting at the first of the month, each episode, we're going to pull names from the chat.
The chat.
The chat. We're pulling names from the chat, people that participate. And every show is going to have a winner. So a minimum of 2 shows a week, 2 winners a week, are going to go into a pot at our second to last show of the month. We're going to pull a winner from the winners. And that winner has the opportunity to be our guest host with us live for that show. So the last
think
show
that
of the month,
sounds
we'll have
great.
a guest show host. And then Frank Amazing came up with a great idea, is that we support a lot of crowdfunding products. We are now starting to get a lot of creators willing to send us stuff that, it's kind of selfish for us to keep some of these things. So we're actually going to now even be taking some of these products and raffling them off to our fans.
I will tell you right now that I will get you a couple copies of the Billy Tucci cover of Vampire PA Bite Out of Crime when I receive them, and I'll sign them and Billy can sign them. And Niall,
fantastic.
for all that purpose, you can sign them. And they are yours for your guests.
Well, we appreciate that, Jeff. That's really awesome of you.
Yep. And I have books as well, and prints and all that jazz. And
We don't want your stuff, Billy.
What if we could get some stuff from other creators and just not tell them?
Yeah, there you go. But I've spoken to a few future guests and some past guests, and I flat out just said, hey, we want to give back to the fans and more than just the show.
Yes.
Do you have anything? A couple creators, and I'm not going to say their name yet because I don't have them 100% locked in for a show due to their schedule, but some of them are willing to actually do a live sketch on the show while we're talking, and that live sketch gets to go to a fan in the chat.
Phenomenal.
we have to have a sketch edition. Sketch show. So I'll do a sketch too, and I think it might be fun. Instead of looking at my stupid face, I'd rather be drawing as well.
Yeah.
I think that I won't be on that episode.
Well, John Broly and I will be. I would love for John Broly and I. Jeff. I would love for John Broly and I. We have to do like 50 sketch covers each for Zombie Sama.
Hi.
Wow.
And I think that would be a fun show. And Niall, if you would not mind maybe moderating it while John and I are sitting at the art tables here in my studio, and I have the 2 cameras set up.
Yep.
And we'll have a little round
Let's see
table.
who can get it. Let's see who can get more done. It's like a
All right,
race,
gentlemen.
a competition.
Well, you know what? This is a business, guys. Remember that too. This is a business. Run your crowdfunding campaigns like a business. put some money aside from yourselves. You know, try to make it profitability. There's nothing wrong with making a profit and making money off of your art, because artists for too long have suffered and starved for their art, and now it's about time you start making money for their art, and maybe we start living like the European model is, and instead of, you know, here in America, a lot of us, I guess, what do? We live to work, right? Would it be right?
I think this is another 2 hours.
No. But wouldn't it be better if we all just worked to live? Right?
Yes. Let's
Thank you,
work to
Philosophy
live.
King.
Work so we can live.
And live to love.
And live to love. All right, I'm tired. I had like.
All
last
right,
time.
everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate it. And we will see you all for our next episode Tuesday night.
Thank you all, Bean. You're great. And again, all you guys and people that don't like us, we're sorry.
We're sorry, but hey, to the people that don't like us, if you have a great project coming up, please share it. We'll still have you on the show.
How can they not like us?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's just crazy talk.
It's because they don't know us. They don't know us, and when they get to know us, they're going to be like, man, I feel stupid. These guys are great.
Yeah, we're a can of peaches.
Exactly.
I don't like canned peaches.
Well, everyone's welcome, like I said.
Wait a minute. You don't like canned peaches?
No. I don't like uncanned peaches either. So
Jeff grew up rich, so Jeff, you know, that's why Jeff doesn't like canned peaches. When we got,
I don't like regular peaches.
In the Tucci household, I can't touch a peach. That's not like the outside of a peach. I can't touch it.
Are you allergic?
Freaks me out. Freaks me out. No, I just can't touch it. It freaks
You're
me.
giving me all sorts of ideas. Gentlemen, have a good evening.
Have a good evening,
Good night,
Jeff.
old man.
Thanks, everyone.
Peace.
Hey guys, thanks again for tuning into Crowdfunding Comics. We look forward to hanging out with all of our crowdfunding fans every time we go live. And don't forget to click the link below and subscribe to our channel. And there's a little bell. You may want to hit that too. This way you get all the great notifications when we go live and when we upload some awesome content. You want to follow us? Sure, go right ahead at Twitter at CrowdFundComics with an X, Instagram Crowdfunding Comics, and Facebook at Crowdfunding Comics. Till next time, crowdfunding fans, we'll see you soon.